We will get started. So as you guys can see, we've got lead follow-up. That should be what's on your screen there. It should say lead follow-up that you're looking at there. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about the importance of lead follow-up, and with that, the importance of how efficient we are at the lead follow-up, because the less efficient we are at our lead follow-up, right? The less efficient we are at it, the less likely we are to do it. And then what happens is all that time you spend prospecting, right? All the time you spend going out there and hunting and looking for the buyers and the sellers. If your lead follow up isn't done consistently and isn't done efficiently, then I lose those potential clients to other agents, right? Because we have to remember that just because somebody is my lead doesn't mean they also aren't somebody else's lead. So it's going to be the person who is most efficient and most consistent at that lead follow up that's going to convert that person from a lead into a client. So let's look at what I said. Lead follow-up is the key. Now here's the thing about lead follow-up is really the purpose of lead follow-up is to simply set the appointment, period. That's it. So when we're doing our lead follow-up, right, especially for the lead follow-ups, and we'll get into the categories in a moment, but when we get into those high categories, those people that should be the ones that we're setting appointments with, our only phone calls should be, hey, Amarette, remember we spoke about you moving to San Diego? You said you need to do that in 30 days. When can we sit down and talk about it, today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock? That should be lead follow-up. If your lead follow-up conversation is anything other than that, then we've got to look at where our leads are. Are we spending time with the correct leads? Are we even sure what a lead is? So we're going to get through that today. But lead follow-up is setting an appointment, period. Without consistent lead follow-up, you cannot have consistent production, right? So when we go out and prospect every day, when we're out there trying to generate the business, we're doing the lead generation, we're making the phone calls, we're knocking on the doors, we're calling our past clients and center of influence, we're doing all of those things to generate that lead. But if I am now not following up with those leads and taking the time on conversion of those leads, then all the time I spent in prospecting was meaningless. And the two things that are most important in your business are prospecting and lead follow-up, right? We can change it to lead generation and lead follow-up. We can talk it to, we can change it to lead generation and conversion, right? You can call it whatever you want, but follow-up is the key to setting the appointments. So in order to be efficient at your lead follow-up, you've got to be prepared. You can't just do it, right? Like, for example, look at prospecting, right? When you guys start prospecting, do you do better when you follow a script or when you try to wing it, right? When we try to wing it, we get off into different areas of a conversation with potential clients instead of staying into that, hey, I want to find people who are looking to buy or sell a house. And the scripts allow us to stay on course. Well, the same thing with lead follow-up is we have to be prepared prior to doing our lead follow-up. And that preparation helps us stay on task as opposed to, getting off into other areas that aren't as productive for us in our business. So first off, what is your definition of a lead? What is your definition of a lead? Who wants to unmute and volunteer, or else I'm going to start picking on people? What's your definition of a lead? Anybody, or else I'm going to start picking from the participants.
Me.
Okay,
Anyone
who's
anyone who asks,
Amarette? You first.
anyone who asks a question about real estate to me is a lead.
Okay. Anybody who asks a question about real estate is a lead. Patty, you unmuted. What's your definition of a lead?
A future potential client.
A future potential client. Okay. Rudy, you're unmuted. Did you have a definition?
Uh, Anybody that wants to buy or sell within, say, 2 to 4 weeks?
Okay. Somebody wants to buy or sell within 2 to 4 weeks, right? So those are all answers, and those answers could be correct for you. But the problem is that they're not clear enough, right? When we're talking about the idea of what a definition of a lead is, it has to be congruent with my goal. So what does that mean, congruent with my goal? So let's go back to Amoret. Amoret, you said that a lead is anybody that asks you a question about real estate. Okay? How many deals, like we have, 3.5 months left in the year, right? How many transactions do you want to do between now and the end of the year?
At least 3
Okay,
minimum.
so you want to do 3, right? So that's about 1 a month where we're at, right? We're about to start September. We got 4 months, so right. Let's round it up just so the math is easy. That you want to do 4 transactions, 1 a month between now and the end of the year, right? In order to do that, how many leads would you have to be able to do 1 deal a month?
I'm not sure. 400?
Right. Now, let's take this, for example. If I need to do 1 deal every month, and let's just be, I don't know, let's just be conservative and say that for everybody in this group right now, that if I had 5 leads, we'll make the math easy. If I had 10 leads, my conversion works at 50%, right? Let's just say it's at 50%. So of those 10 people who become leads, 5 of those 10 will become a client, right? 50% conversion. Now, some of your conversion might be higher, some of it might be lower, but 50% is a good number that we could look at. If I gave you 10 leads, you convert 5 of those 10 leads, right? So if my conversion is at 50%, and I need to do 1 deal a month, that means at a bare minimum, I have to have 2 good leads every month, okay? Now, is a good lead, like is somebody who I can turn into an appointment today, is that somebody that I would say asked me a question about real estate? Or would we go back to what Rudy said, somebody who wants to buy or sell in the next 2 weeks? Right? Because in Rudy's case, where he's saying, hey, somebody wants to buy or sell in the next 2 weeks. Well, if I had 2 of those leads of somebody that wanted to buy or sell in the next 2 weeks, then that means then I technically might have the ability to put 2 of those people to become clients and close a deal within 1 month period. So all of that stuff has to make sense. It has to be congruent. So when I look at my definition of a lead, my definition has to be crystal clear, just as crystal clear as what my goal is. Trino, did you want to say something? Oh, no, you muted by accident. It's okay. So I have to be as crystal clear about what my lead is, just like I would my goal. Crystal clear. I have to be able to see what that lead looks like. Now, let's even get into it more, is that not only do I have to know when my lead wants to buy or sell, but I have to know, my definition of my lead is not only, hey, I want somebody that wants to buy, like Rudy said, in the next 2 to 4 weeks, but I want a buyer who has good credit, has cash for a down payment, has cash to pay their closing costs, has cash to pay the difference between appraised value and offer price, since we know that becomes an issue. Like all of those things, this is what my client looks like. It has to be that crystal clear as we start looking at the leads, because we see the world through a certain filter, right? Through a certain lens. And if my lens for a lead, Amaret, and I don't take this personally, we're just using you as an example. If my filter that I look at the world through is anybody who asks me a question about real estate becomes part of my lead follow-up, can you see how that could kind of muddy the waters and maybe separate me from the people who are just curious, and separate me from the people who are actively thinking about buying or selling a house? So that's why we have to be clear. So when you start looking at broad, painting a picture with broad strokes, where I'll take anybody that says they're interested in real estate with no qualifiers, right? Not when they want to buy, how much money they have, do they have the ability to buy. So we have to really break it down into different sections, which is, if I'm talking to somebody as I prospect and they say, yes, I want to buy, well, then the first question is when do you want to buy? And the second question is, do you have the money for the down payment? The third question is, what does your credit look like? And the fourth question is, or maybe it should have been the first question, do you have a job, right? How much income do you earn? And we have to look at everybody that we talk to, especially with buyers. We have to really look at them and say, is this somebody I want to spend time with? Because your time spent with buyers is substantially more than your time that's necessarily spent with a seller to convert from a lead into an escrow, right? From a lead to a client to an escrow. That's a different process. And when I'm working with a buyer, if I'm going to spend the next 6 months with you or 4 months with you or 8 months with you trying to get you into escrow, I want to make sure that the time I'm being spent with is spent with somebody who is ready, willing, and able, right? Able means I have money, I have credit, right? I have income. Willing, right? Willing is I'm going to do the things that I ask them to do. They're going to show up for appointments. They're going to get qualified with a lender. They're going to do all of the things that are necessary to be a good, strong buyer. And ready is they're ready to do it now. And I would guess that as we start to look at the leads that we all have as a group that we follow up with, I would guess that you have maybe one or two of those three things: ready, willing, and able. You might have somebody that's ready and willing, but they're not able. How many of you guys are working on fixing somebody's credit? Right? So they're not able. They're ready, they're willing, they're not able. Sometimes you have people that are able and they're ready, but they're not willing. They're not willing to do the things that are necessary. They're not showing up for showings. They're not meeting with you. They're not communicating with you, right? So you're going to have some people in your list of leads that are only two of the three that are necessary. And what happens now is that for you guys, when we look at efficiency, is who am I spending time with? Who am I talking to? Right? So am I spending the right time with the right people? Am I spending the time with the people who are just curious and saying, hey, can I look at a house when you get a chance? Or, hey, I really want to see this house, but I don't want to talk to a lender. I don't want to give over my financials. I don't want to do that stuff. Like, we have people like that. Am I spending time with those people? And if I am, the problem with that is that my focus now turns towards those people who are really not helping my production. And the people that I also may have made contact with that are ready, willing, and able, I'm missing out on them. Because by the time I get through the people who are only two of the three, and I get to the one who's got all three of them, they've already started working with somebody else, or they're already in escrow. So the efficiency is we've got to do away with all the other stuff, right? The maybes, and get with the people who are the right people, the ones that are willing to take action. And like I said, it reduces the risk of you losing that lead, because if Patty tells me I want to buy in the next 2 weeks, and yes, I'll go talk to your lender, and what do you need me to do? However you need me to write the offers, to show up for appointments, to get ready for showings, to take time off of work, to go see a property that just came on the market because we can't take a chance. That's Patty, right? And I spend time with Patty, and I do that. Right? And that's the kind of people that I look for and I get, as opposed to maybe Rudy, who says, yeah, let me know, call me in a couple weeks and I'll tell you when I can show. But instead what happens is, because I don't know which is which, I don't know that Patty is the one that's ready to do something today and Rudy is the one that's ready to do something whenever. I don't know, because I don't have a system for keeping track or a clear definition, because they both said yes to me. They both said yes, and Rudy also got qualified. Like, they both said yes, right? Rudy is two of the three. Patty is all three of those things: ready, willing, and able. And so I spend time reluctantly, by accident. I pick Rudy because I forget that I have Patty. And by the time I get back to Patty is now working with Tim, right? And Tim's showing her houses and writing offers because I neglected her. So having a clear definition and an efficient system for how I'm going to do my follow-up reduces that risk of me losing those people to other agents. Be honest, we've all lost a client that we thought was ours, that we were talking to, saying yes, in the next couple of weeks I'm going to list, in the next couple of weeks I'm ready to buy, and then all of a sudden that final phone call you make to them and they say, oh, we listed with somebody else, or yeah, we actually just opened escrow with somebody else, right? It's happened to all of us. And the reason it happened is because we were spending time following up with the wrong people, or we were doing zero follow-up at all. And if we were doing the follow-up, we weren't doing it properly. So that's why I wanted to have this class and talk about it, because I don't want you guys to lose things and have them slip through the cracks, okay? So let's talk about categorizing the leads, Okay, A's, B's, C's. Okay, the A's are the people that need to do something today. And again, that definition for you may be different depending on what your goal is, right? So if I want to do one deal a month, then at the very least, my A has to be somebody who wants to do something from today to 30 days. If they're outside of 30 days, they're not an A. That's your bare minimum, right? If you want to do one deal a month. If you want to do 2 a month, then maybe that's going to get 0 to 14 days. If you want to do 3 a month, maybe it's going to be 0 to 7 days. Those are my A's, okay? But I have to know who those are. And I have to know what it is dependent on what it is I want to accomplish. And I can figure all of that out just basically by saying, I'm going to start until I know my numbers. I'm going to start and say I have a 50% conversion rate on every lead that comes in. So if I get 4 A leads a month, I know that I can turn 2 of those into a client, right? Based on these categories. If that's my conversion. And as you convert more and you track your numbers, like when you sit down with Richard and you do your coaching and you track your numbers, then you'll be able to see what your conversion rate is really, because you'll be able to see how many contacts to how many leads, how many appointments, how many escrows, right? You'll be able to see those numbers and you'll start to learn what your true conversion rate is. And you know, when we really start to figure out lead follow-up and what's important to us about the clients that we're looking for, and we're clear and defined about who those clients are, it's going to make your prospecting easier. Because now as I start to look at my business, I start to look at my leads as a pipeline. I start to build them as a pipeline. So I can say, hey, instead of saying how many appointments do I need or how many escrows do I need to get to this goal, I can say, hey, I need to add 5 A's to my pipeline because I don't have enough. I need to add 6 B's to my pipeline because I don't have enough. We can start looking at those numbers, getting it down to even a smaller number as we start to analyze our business and decide what those tweaks are. And you can start to forecast your business based on the pipeline that you have of the leads that you're converting. So your A's are going to be the people who are ready to do something now, right? Whatever is the way that makes your goal work, right? Whether it's 0 to 30 days, if maybe you're a part-time agent and you only want to do 6 deals a year, then maybe your A's are every 90 days or every 60 days, right? 0 to 60 instead of 0 to 30. But it's going to be dependent on what you want to accomplish within the year, how many deals per month you want to do, and that's what we're going to look at. So for this example, we're going to look at somebody who wants to do something, buy a house, sell a house in the next 30 days, right? Whether that means they start tomorrow or they start on September 24th, right? Between now and 30 days. If that person that you meet door knocking or making a cold call says, hey, if I could do something in the next 30 days, I'm ready to go. Bingo, they're an A lead, okay? That's going to be the way we're going to categorize them. Next is the B's. So now we get out of that 0 to 30. These B people are the 30 to 90s because we meet them all. And so we don't want to throw people away, but I also don't want to spend the same amount of time. So if I know that when I called Tim today, he said, yeah, I do want to sell my house, but we're probably not going to do it until, right before the holidays, maybe end of October or something, because this is what we want to do. Whatever his reasonings are. If that's the case, well, then Tim goes into the B's, right? Because if I know he's not going to move until October or November, then why am I calling him today to ask him for an appointment? Because remember, lead follow-up is calling to ask for an appointment, not to call to say hello, not to see how you doing, Tim. Hey, do you remember me? That's not lead follow-up. If that's your lead follow-up, then we're doing it wrong. So it's to set an appointment. So if that's the case, then I know that I don't need to call Tim today, right, to make an appointment because he's not ready to have an appointment till November. So what that does is it now takes him out of the way to keep me focused on the A's. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. Now our C's are now 90 days plus, right? Those people that are all, yeah, probably next year I'll do something, and I don't want to lose track of them, but I don't want to spend a ton of time with them, right? So this is the system of how I spend my most time with the good people, the next amount of time with that next group that's going to move in, and then that final group that I don't want to lose track of, but I don't want to take time away from the people that are going to set appointments with me today. Questions about categorizing the leads? Anybody? No, you guys got this? Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm hoping that you got it. Jesus, go ahead.
Get it. We get it, Kyle. Sometimes we just don't do it, but we do get it.
Okay, good. That's all right. As long as you get it. Like, what do they say? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. All I can do is present it to you guys and hope that you use it.
We'll surprise you this year. Don't worry.
I can't wait to be surprised. I'm going to tell you what, and I'll be so happy. All right, so let's move on with categorizing, right? We got that. We know that what we're looking at. Tim, did you want to say something?
Kyle, I was just saying, I'm here because I haven't been doing it. That's why I'm here right now. I'm just like, I know that's been the breakdown in my success is not following up. So that's why I'm here.
And guess what, Tim? Just like if we were in AA right now, that's what everybody's issue is. And I promise you, there's people who are good at it that can be better. Right? And there's people who don't do it because, and I'm going to tell you why you don't do it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit while we're going through this, is because lead follow-up feels like a second round of prospecting. Because I'm not efficient at my lead follow-up, I'm not doing it the way I should. I have these people that I spoke to 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, and I'm afraid to go back because now what I have to do is call them and say, hey, Tim, I spoke to you in July. You told me that you were thinking about moving. Do you remember? And they're like, yeah, I guess. So now it's a whole reintroduction of prospecting, right? As opposed to if you had told me 4 weeks ago, hey, I want to move in 4 weeks, and now here's my phone call in 2 weeks saying, hey, Tim, it's Kyle. 2 weeks ago, we spoke about you guys moving in a couple weeks. I just want to see if anything's changed. If you're ready, when can we sit down and talk about it, today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock? See, that's a whole different lead follow-up. Most people don't do it that way, so it becomes almost like a second round of prospecting. So it becomes like I have a little bit of an aversion to the idea of doing it. And so that's why I want to get into this system with you guys so it feels more fun to do the follow-up. Okay? All right. So contacting leads. Now we're going to talk about how often we should be contacting them. And this is the one that's going to make you guys cringe because I already know. I know what's going on right here. A leads, the 0 to 30 days, the 0 to 2 weeks, the 0 to 7 days, the 0 to 14 days, whatever it is that your A is, the 0 to, call them every day until they set an appointment or ask you to leave them alone. Period. Now, the reason I say that is because these are the people that say they're ready to do something at this moment. And so if I don't take advantage, if I'm not top of mind with them, the next agent that comes along and calls them is going to get them. The next agent that follows up and is forceful with the follow-up, is aggressive with the follow-up, is assertive, is asking for the appointments, they're going to get them and I'm not. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get pissed and I'm going to say, prospecting doesn't work. Every time I get a lead, they go off to somebody else. So I'm going to tell you, this is the one thing I want to pound home is call the A's every day until they set an appointment or they tell you to leave them alone. Right? And here's the thing. My lead follow-up should be every day. So if, for example, I meet Tim this morning while I'm door knocking and Tim goes, yeah, you know what? I really want to sell my house. I want to do that probably before September's over, right? So in the next, 2 weeks to a month, I want to be on the market and out. And he tells me that. And at the moment, I try to set the appointment. So, well, great, let's sit down and talk about it. And he goes, well, I'm not quite sure. I need to talk to my wife. She's not here, right? All those stories that we get. So I get Tim's information. I said, great, you're interested? Give me your name, your phone. I ask him for everything, and I get it. That same day, when I do my lead follow-up in the afternoon, guess who I'm going to call? Tim. And I'm going to say, hey, Tim, we spoke this morning. And I know you didn't have an opportunity to set an appointment with me this morning because you want to talk to your wife, but I didn't want this to go by without speaking to you again because the more time we waste, the more money you're leaving on the table. So when's a good time for us to sit down and talk about selling your house and getting you to San Diego? Today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And he's going to give me the excuse. Either he's going to say yes, or he's going to go, well, I haven't been able to talk to my wife yet. Can you give me some time? I'll call you back, whatever. Great. No problem, Tim. Take care. I can't wait to hear from you. And I hang up. And guess what? Tomorrow afternoon, when I do my follow-up again, I'm going to say, Tim, it's Kyle. We spoke yesterday morning. I called you yesterday to see if you had spoken with your wife and you hadn't. When can we sit down and have that appointment? I want to make sure you're not losing out on selling your home. Today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Which one works better for you? Right? And maybe he pushes me off again. Oh, you know what? My wife worked late. We weren't able to talk. Guess what I'm going to do tomorrow? The same phone call. And what's going to happen is Tim is either going to break down and go, you know what, man? Come on in and let's talk about it. Or he's going to tell me, you're way too pushy. Leave me alone. And I'm okay with that. If he says you're pushy, leave me alone, I'm going to say, exactly, I'm pushy because this is how I'm going to be to work on the sell of your house. When can we sit down and talk about it? Today, I'm still going to ask for that appointment. And if he still says, hey man, I'm done, I don't want to work with you, then great. I'm going to take him out of my system. I'm going to hang up the phone and I'm going to move on to somebody who does. I'm not going to cry that Tib told me to bugger off. I'm going to be okay with it. And that's the way, that's what I mean when I say these are the A leads, we're going to call them every day, and that's exactly what you're going to do. Just that same scenario. Hey, I talked to you yesterday. You said you weren't ready. Are you ready today? I don't want you to lose out today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock, right? Or whatever your appointment times work for you. But you always close with that same alternate, alternative. Today or tomorrow. Today at 6 or 7 be better. Right? Never can I meet with you today. Never yes or no. Always alternatives. Okay? Questions about contacting your A leads? Anybody? How many of you felt like throwing up a little bit when I said call them every day until they set an appointment or they tell you to get lost? Henry, did you want to say something?
Yes, a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So let's say I have an A lead, right? And I call him on a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me to call him back on Sunday to follow up with him. Do I still call
Okay.
him every day, or do I
If
wait?
they give you specific instructions like that, like, and if it's not like pushing you off weeks, right? If I call you on Thursday and I say, hey Henry, we spoke this morning, you told me you wanted to be out of your house in the next 30 days. When can we talk about it, today or tomorrow at 5 o'clock? And your answer is, you know what, I'm not ready today. Can you call me on Sunday? Then I'm going to wait and call you on Sunday. I'm not going to bother you on Friday and Saturday. I will call you on Sunday. But if on Sunday you don't answer the phone, or you still I'm going to call you on Monday, I'm going to call you on Tuesday, you understand? I'm going to still do it until I physically hear you to tell me to stop calling, or you set the appointment with me. That's the only way to ensure that you're not going to lose these guys to somebody else. So yeah, you give me instructions to call you on a specific date. As long as it's not a month from now, then yeah, I'll do it. Or if it is a month from now, I'm going to cut that time in half, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, too, as we go forward. So it's a good question, Henry. I appreciate that.
Thank
Jesus, did you want to say something? You also unmuted. No? All right, so let's move on. Let's look at our B leads. Now, obviously, they're the 30 to 90 day guys. We're not going to call them every day because it doesn't make sense. If they're outside of having to take action today, why would I call them every day and ask them for an appointment? That's insanity. But what happens is that sometimes we do this by default because we don't know that they're the B leads. They're our only leads sometimes, right? They're our only leads. So we're harassing them and asking them for an appointment, not because we're mean people. It's because we don't know that we're really not fitting in a timeline. Like, it doesn't make sense. We're not meshing right now. And sometimes these work, right? Ultimately, 60 days from now, we just happen to make that right phone call and they're like, oh, I'm glad you called me, and now they're their client. But more often than not, we lose them because we don't follow up the right way, or we follow up too soon, and then we get frustrated because they're not willing to set an appointment, and then we stop calling them. And then when we get desperate for leads and we start looking through that list again, now we pick up the phone and call them, and they're like, yeah, well, I told you I want to do something in 60 days, and I didn't hear from you, so I went with another agent. And it happens. So with these people, I'm going to call them every couple weeks to once a month, depending on when they said, right? So if somebody tells me they're just outside that 30 days, right? Like, so maybe they're 35, 40, I'm going to call them 2 weeks from our first encounter because that's pretty close. But if they're 60 days, 90 days out, I'm going to probably call them in a month. So basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting whatever their timeline was in half. Right? So if that original phone call with Tim where he said, hey, I don't want to sell my house, I want to start marketing it 90 days from now. Well, then in a month and a half from now, I'm going to call Tim and say, hey, Tim, I know you told me you wanted to do this in 90 days. Has anything changed? If I were to bring you a buyer today and get your home sold in the next 30 days, would you be okay with that? If he said, yeah, actually, I would be okay with it, then great, let's set an appointment. If he says, no, I'm not ready yet, terrific, I'll give you a call, right? And now I'm going to be back on his timeline. I'm also going to respect who they are. I'm not going to be pushy to the point that it doesn't make sense because he's not ready for an appointment yet, so asking him for an appointment makes zero sense. But because sometimes for us as agents, we don't have enough production, we're not getting the leads or the people or the clients that we want, what do? Is we try to force it. We try to put that round peg in the square hole and say, no, come on, let's do it now. And we try to get people to take action before they're ready. And then what that does is it creates frustration with us and with them because you're trying to get them to do something, take action, make movement that they're not ready to move. And because you're trying to do that, right, you're pushing that boulder uphill instead of letting it roll downhill, you get frustrated and burned out, and you think you have terrible clients. Like, oh, I hate my shitty clients because they don't do what I told them, or they don't show up for appointments. Well, it's because we're asking the wrong people for the appointments. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? So whatever it is, if they're 60 days, 90 days out, I'm going to cut that time in half for my first phone call. And then based on that first phone call may change how often I talk to them, right? Maybe it's still going to be the next call is a month later or 2 weeks later, but it could be shorter based on the changes maybe in what they're seeing in their choices and the conversations in the market and how it's changing and there could be all kinds of effects. So I'm going to make that first call half of the time from their original target date, and then it may change after that first phone call, right? So there's our B leads. Our C leads. Now, these are the guys that are 90 days out, right? These are the long haulers. These are the 3, 6, 12 months from now, because we still get those people, right? When you're cold calling, when you're door knocking, when you're calling expireds even, you still get those people like, yeah, we're not going to do anything till next year. We want to wait till now it's too close to the holidays are coming up to get sold and moved and all that stuff. We're going to wait until January, February, right? These are going to become your C leads. And you're going to call them once a month to once a quarter, depending on how far they are out. Again, cutting that time in half. So if they say, hey, I want to sell in 120 days, then I'm going to call them in 60 days, that first phone call. And then change the time based on that. And depending on as they move, when you look at it, and I didn't really talk about it in the last one, but just like a vending machine, right? If you think of the A's are the first Coke in the vending machine, the B's are the second one, the C's are the third one. When I take that first Coke out, that B ultimately moves in, right? It's kind of the same thing, is that at some point the C's are going to become B's and the B's are going to become A's as their timeline gets closer and closer, right? So I can look at that pipeline and say, well, I have 12 C's, I have 15 B's, I have 5 A's. This is what I can project based on my conversion and my contact with them, as it's going to lead to this many escrows for me. It's not money in your hand, but it's a way for you to project and to see, am I on track? It's another way to help to see if I'm on track to achieve what I want to achieve. Right? So they're going to move along from C's to B's, from B's to A's. Once they're A's, it's setting an appointment, calling them every day. So they'll switch into those timelines for contacting as they move along their calendar. So questions about contacting the leads? Any questions? I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just the idea of now being focused on, do I have the right people? So for a lot of you guys, what's going to happen after this class is over is going to be looking at that list of leads wherever you have them and deciding, are these people actually leads? Should I get rid of them? Put them in the correct category? Should I start calling all of them and just finding out what category they're in because I don't know? Right? It's going to be a lot of cleanup right now before we really put all the system into work. So it's going to be a lot of cleanup. And that's what we're going to talk about, is putting it to work. The nice thing about this is if you're not a tech savvy person, right, you don't like CRMs, you don't like all that stuff, you can use it. You can get a 3-ring binder and use it with this lead system. You can get a box of a recipe box, get 3x5 cards, keep your 3x5 cards with you, right? This is the old Mike Ferry system, where I have all my leads on a 3x5 card. I can put them in my jacket pocket. I can put them in my pocket. I can put them in my backpack. Wherever I am, I can do my lead follow-up because I have them with me and I know how to do it. Or we could put this into practice with a CRM very easily, right? And then the CRM now takes it to another level of what I can and can't do with these people. So when we look at the 3-ring binder, again, it becomes super manual. You create a lead sheet, their name, their phone number, what they want to do, buyer, seller, right? Whatever it is, the notes underneath it. You throw that into the 3-ring binder, and then you have binder dividers that are each categories. The A's, the B's, and the C's are all separated. And then with each one of those A, B's, or C's, I have January, February, March, April, May, June, July separators with Monday through Friday separators. So I know who to move into what category. Now again, super manual. It's dependent on phone calls solely. right? Or you sending text message, or maybe you send an email, but it's not automated. It's all about you. It's all about you making those moves, changing paper from one slot to another, and making notes on who you called and didn't, and moving those things around. So it's very manual. And it's the same setup when we start looking at the 3x5 cards. You keep all their information on the 3x5 card. You have a filing system with the lead categories, like a recipe box, right? Because that's what that size is perfect for 3x5 cards. And you have the same thing, the dividers by ABC, by month. Maybe you have a box for the A's, a box for the B's, a box for the C's. So it's all you have to do is just move them around by the day or by the month. Okay. So again, very manual, dependent on the phone call, but it's a little bit more portable, maybe, right? Like, hey, these are the Monday calls I have to make today, and they go in the pocket and you go on. So again, this is a way to do it and still have a system for somebody who is maybe a little averse to the idea of trying to figure out a CRM or get it started, or just doesn't like the tech side of things, right? And like I said, benefit is it's portable. I can take it with me. It's easy. Throw it in my pocket, wrap a rubber band, I'm good to go. And I know who I've called. I make my notes, put them back in the box, and move on to the next group the next day. Okay? But with the CRM, I create a group, right, for every lead category. So I have my A leads as a group in my CRM, and every time I get an A lead, I add them to that group in my CRM. Every time I get a B, I add them to that group in my CRM. C, add them to that group. And then I have reminders in there that tell me, hey, these are when I have to call these people. Now I'm going to get physical reminders. Now, if you're using Business Builder, obviously you don't get those reminders that are pushed to you. But with, My Broker Tools or Top Producer or Lines Desk or any of the other number of CRMs that are out there, right? They give you that physical push, like, hey, Tim, today you need to call so-and-so, right? They give you those reminders. They put it in your calendar. All that stuff is there. So, again, it takes the manual side out of it because it's going to give you these push notifications of who you need to contact. And it does one other thing that the other manual systems don't allow me to, is to put each one of those people into a drip email campaign. So not only are they getting those phone calls from me asking for an appointment, but they're also getting these emails, right? They're getting these automated emails where I'm not doing anything physically, but they get to see my name and my face, so that I never leave top of mind with them, that they get to see me, and then they hear from me when it's time for me to make those appointments. So it gives me way more touches. It takes away that manual ability for me to make a mistake and miss a step, right? Because I'm getting the reminders. And it gives me more touches. More touches. The more touches, the more touches, the more touches, the more chances of them setting an appointment with me and becoming my client. And so that's why when we start talking about this, all of that stuff before, right, from the very beginning, which is cleaning up what I have, defining who my lead is, categorizing that, setting everything up, putting them into the system, that's where I said that your efficiency and your proficiency in your lead generation and lead follow-up is dependent on your preparation. And I think that what happens for a lot of us is there's not a lot of preparation going in. It's just jump in with feet first. I went prospecting, that's a lead because they said yes. I don't know what they said yes to, but they said yes, so they're my lead. Let's run with it. And we try to set appointments. It doesn't work. We get frustrated, they get frustrated, and then the whole thing falls apart because we don't want to do it anymore. So I don't care which system you guys choose. Whatever fits for you. It's the 3x5 cards, it's the binder, it's the CRM. I mean, I'm always going to push you guys towards a CRM because of the added benefits, but it doesn't matter which one you use as long as you use it. As long as you take that information on your leads and you put them into some kind of system, you're going to stop losing people because you're going to be contacting the right people at the right time. Okay? So let's have, with this, it went quick. So questions, guys. Give me questions. I know you got to have some. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so thanks, Kyle. This is it for me right here, the CRM. I've wasted time because I know in order to learn one and get mastery over it, I wanted to pick the right one. So I've been frozen on choosing a CRM.
Yeah.
So I'm open to suggestions. I need an assistant. In my previous career, I always had one. All the detail stuff, I'm not good at. I want something that I just push a button and it does the most it can do for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say there's one where you push a button and it just does
I
everything
was
for you.
joking.
Yeah, I know you are, but everybody in this room right now would be like, yes, which is the one we push the button because that's the one I'm going to
phone
use.
calls, the door knock. I'm good, but I'm breaking down on all the other stuff.
Yeah, look, here's the thing I would tell you, and especially if you're struggling with it, and now I'm going to say, and I know that I try to push this all the time, I would start with Business Builder. Now, Business Builder is not going to give you those push notifications and things, but if you take the time to sign into it every day, it'll give you a list of what your tasks are for that day, who to call, what needs to happen, and it will send automated emails out. That's an easy beginner step for you to get the system in process. Once you get the hang of how the system works with the CRM, then maybe you could go look at one of the more robust texting automated messages. That would just be my advice to you. And guess what? I'm going to tell you this. I don't care what CRM is, and I'm going to say the same thing that Tom Ferry says. Whatever CRM you're going to use is the best one you could get.
Right.
And that's the way you look at it. Because I could tell you that, hey, Lion's Desk is going to blow everything away, and then you get on it and you don't like it. And you can't really maneuver it, and it feels clunky, and I can't connect with it, and you're not going to use it, so it's going to be meaningless. So maybe what you do is examine a couple of them. Try Business Builder, right? Set up some stuff in Business Builder. Set up some stuff in Lion's Desk. Set up some stuff in, because Lion's Desk is free to you guys that are board members. So play around with the free ones for now. See how it feels. Right? That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions, statements, concerns?
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I met a chef in downtown LA who's interested in buying a second home for his family, but
Okay.
because he's like this kind of prominent downtown LA chef, I'm kind of intimidated. I don't know if there's something special that I have to do to kind of I saw him and I know him from my previous job, so he was like, "What do you do now?" And I'm like, "I'm a realtor." And he's like, "Oh, I want to buy a house. Here's my card." And I sent him an email to follow up, and then it just kind of died. So I don't know if there's something else I should be doing, something special. I don't know.
No, it becomes the follow up. And when does he want to buy the house?
In my area, actually. He
No,
didn't say I know how to
not
buy.
where. When?
Oh, he didn't say. He just said.
Okay, so that's the first question. So maybe what the next phone call with him is, hey, we spoke last week, this week, whatever it was, and you told me you were really looking forward to buying a home here. How soon would you want to do that? That would be my first phone call to him now. And then once I know that, then I can start deciding how to do the lead follow-up with him. But to be honest, you don't have to do anything special. I think it just having the conversations and the contacts and the touches and staying in front of him and showing yourself a value, I think you'll be okay. But you got to know what it is he wants and when he wants it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, anybody else? No? All right, so I'm really hoping that you guys got something out of this, that you're going to put this into action, because I really believe that taking this step of being efficient in your lead follow-up, knowing who your lead is, focusing on that person that's your lead, doing all of that stuff, I believe it is going to make a huge difference in your business and where you are now and where you'll be a month, 6 months, a year from now. So just please take some action in this. Even if it just becomes the defining of the lead, is going to make a huge difference. So I appreciate you guys all being here. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.